Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back. I know that I do look a bit silly right now. I have all my makeup on except for my eyes, but that is because I wanted to hop on here real quick and show you guys how I make a very inexpensive palette look like an expensive eye look. So that's what we're gonna do today. If that is something you are interested in seeing, let's go ahead and get started. The palette that we're going to be using today is the Profusion Harvest palette. This is a $10 eyeshadow palette. You can use whichever one you want. The main goal of this tutorial is to show you techniques rather than actual shades or products on how you can make your eyeshadow look more expensive and complex when it really could be, you know, however much you paid for it. So I did prime my eyes already. I used the MAC Painterly Paint Pot like I normally do. I think I'm gonna go in with this oak shade right here. What we're doing right now is we're just kind of laying the foundation for the eye look that we're gonna do. I'm taking this Profusion Pointed Crease Eyeshadow brush. This is the ES3. It's just a nice big fluffy brush. And what we're gonna do is lay the foundation. This is a pretty light color, but it does add a bit of shadow, which is what we're going for. One of the first things you want to do is figure out what shape you want your eyeshadow to kind of fall into. I really like to do mine all diagonal to lift my eyes, which I feel like really helps to make my eyeshadow look a lot more complex than it actually is. So that's what I'm doing with this shadow right here. I'm mainly focusing it in the outer half and bringing it out. This is going to be the template for all other shadows that we put down. Doesn't matter how expensive the palette is, how much you paid for it, how little you paid for it. It's all about technique. You can take that technique and really make anything look any way that you want it to. Profusion eyeshadow palettes are really good palettes, especially for the amount that you pay for them. There's so much that you can do with them, so many different looks that you can come up with. They're definitely worth every penny that you pay for them. The next thing that you want to do after you lay down your first shade is kind of figure out what color story you want to go for on your eyes. I think I want to do a nice green eye look because green is like my favorite color. So I'm gonna find 2 or 3 shades that I know I want to use. That's what I like to always go back to, is the magic number 3. You know, your lightest, your middle, and your darkest. That's just for the eye shape that I'm going for. But I feel like if you're gonna do a halo eye or even a smoky eye, 3 is just the magic number. Once you find 3 shadows that you know are gonna work well together and that are within the same family, you can go from there and mapping out the rest of your eye look. I think the first one that I'm going to take is Vegetation right here, which is just a khaki green. I'm eventually going to take Nocturnal, and I'm not sure which light one I want to use yet. There's quite a few, but I know that for right now, these are the 2 that I'm going to take. I'm going to start with Vegetation, and you're going to want to use a fluffy brush with this. This is one option. This is the Real Techniques Base Shadow Brush. Another option is the Morphe M433, and then another option is the Sigma E25, which is a favorite of mine. Mine's a little bit dirty, so I'm gonna go in with this Morphe M433. So it's all about placement when it comes to eyeshadow. And I'm not saying that this is the one true way to do your eyeshadows. There are a multitude of ways to do it. For me personally, I have found that this is just the best way to make my eyeshadow look the best that it possibly can. Placement is an important part of eyeshadow, and where you place the shadows on your eye can really complement the look that you're going for. With this Vegetation shade, I'm going to pack it on this Morphe M433. From the lash line, right in the middle, we're going to pull out to the outer corner, working in a diagonal formation to really help lift my eyes. If you have downturned eyes, I have a whole separate video that walks you through how to really help lift your eyes with eyeshadow. This is kind of like another one of those videos, but we're focusing a little bit more on complexity rather than specificity. If that's a word. So just pulling this out. I'm not going above where I laid down that oak shade. The furthest that this eyeshadow is going to go in is just on the lash line, if that makes any sense. Up here is never going to go past down here. I'm never going to bring this in the crease all the way over to the same place that the lash line stops. The most important part for this look is just the buildup and blending of the shadows. Don't be afraid to really sit here and take your time and work to diffuse every shade that's on the eye. You really want to have them melt into each other, and the only way you're going to accomplish that is with a lot of blending. a lot of time, a lot of attention, and a lot of patience. I'm going back in with that oak shade just right up here, and we're gonna melt it into vegetation. Okay, so for my next step, we're gonna go in with the Nocturnal shade, which is the darkest one that I've decided to use. You're going to want to take a smaller brush for this. One option is this Morphe Ariel A7. Another option is this Profusion ES6 small pointed eyeshadow brush. Another option is a pencil brush, such as this Morphe M431 right here. Because mine are all dirty, I'm gonna go in with the Morphe Ariel one, taking Nocturnal on it, which is the dark forest green in here, and we're gonna focus this from the outer lash line right here and pull it out in the same formation. For right now, just worry about building up that color. Once you feel comfortable with the shade that you have it, you're gonna flick in. We're not bringing this high at all. The vegetation shade is gonna be above this one, so Nocturnal will not go higher than that one. Just like vegetation didn't go higher than oak. You know, we're building up that gradient. As you can see, I'm leaving the inner corner pretty light because I am gonna go in with a light shade. This really helps to set that eye look shape in stone. It really helps to complement the rest of the shadows that you put down. It helps to elongate the eye, helps to make your eyes look further apart because mine are pretty close together. The next step in this eye look, again, is just another technique step. It has nothing to do with the shadows that you're using. You can use this with any eyeshadow palette, but this technique I find really helps to make an eyeshadow look way more expensive and complex than it actually is. We are going to cut the crease. This is not something that you have to do if you feel uncomfortable with it. If you are worried about your skill set as a makeup artist, this is not something that you have to do. You can just lay down a lighter shade rather than the cut crease and then the lighter shade. You can just skip this step altogether. But I find that this step really helps to make it look that much more complex. So I'm going to be taking the P. Louise base in the shade Rumor 01 on a Morphe Ariel A18. You can use concealer if you want. You do not have to use a base like this. This is just what I find to be the easiest for me to work with. I used to use concealer, now I use this. So I'm just gonna coat my brush, and we're gonna start from the inner corner and carve out a spot for that light eyeshadow that we're gonna put down. I'm keeping my eye open when I do this, just so that I don't cut the crease too low or too high. In keeping my eyes open, I know how it's gonna look. That is how far I'm going to bring this in. I don't want to do anything crazy. I'm going to take my Morphe M433, which is the brush that I used for the vegetation shade, and with whatever is left over on the brush, I'm just gonna blend into the P. Louise. Gives us a nice space to lay down a shadow. I am going to go in with a shimmer for this eye look on the inner corner. I'm going to take Grassland right here, which is a very gold green. This is really going to help to brighten up the inner corner and give it that pop that again is going to make it look way more expensive. I'm going to take this Morphe M167 brush and I'm going to follow where I put down the P. Louise. Build it up to whatever opacity that you want. If you want it more iridescent, you can leave it like this. I want mine to be a little bit more opaque, so I'm really building it up. I'm following the perimeter of where I cut the crease, and that's where I'm making it the most opaque. Where the shade meets that vegetation shade, I'm patting very lightly because I want to mesh it into that color. I want it to look very like a natural gradient rather than like stamp. I'm gonna take my M433 again and just blend. Now, would you ever guess that this eye cost me $10? It really all comes down to like the techniques that you pick up and what you do with them. So I did go ahead and add some liquid liner, and then I did do some tight lining, and while we're waiting for the lashes to dry, we're gonna go ahead and do the lower lash line. I like doing the lower lash line. This is not something that you have to do if you don't like the way that it looks. But I'm first gonna take Nocturnal right here, which was the darkest shade that we used, on a flat, straight, like shader brush. Push it up just against the lash line and attach it to the outer edge of where we brought the top. Then we're going to take the Morphe M433 again with vegetation and blend it out. Alright you guys, so this is the final look with the lashes on. I love the way it came out. I feel like it looks like I took like a $50 eyeshadow palette rather than this $10 one right here. I'm telling you, it is all about technique. It is not about how expensive the palette is, how much you paid for it, who the brand is. It is all about the tools that you have and the techniques that you use. So if you did like the video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you have not already, make sure that you are subscribed to my channel and that you hit the little bell so that you are always notified when I upload a new video. And I think that is it for today's little eye tutorial, you guys. I hope that you all enjoyed. I hope that you go forth with whatever resonates with you from this video, and I will see you guys all in my next one.